My local Dollar Tree finally got the 2025 calendars in, so I grabbed a couple, and there is a particular piece in my stash that I have been waiting to put one of these calendars on. I absolutely love this Choose Joy piece. One of my favorite sayings is don't let people steal your joy. And I thought this would look perfect on this gorgeous neutral wood Lazy Susan I have been waiting to decoupage. For the medium, I'm just going to use some Mod Podge, but feel free to use whatever medium works best for you. And since I want to do the iron on method, I'm going to put a nice thick heavy layer on this. Now I put so much on here because I've worked with these calendars before and I know how they are. And I let this sit overnight to dry. When your piece is completely dry, it's going to be nice and clear just like this. And then it'll be time to bring on in the iron. Now use whatever kind of iron you would like for this. I keep this little joint right next to me while I craft, so it's always my go-to. And I do turn it all the way up. After I had everything prepped, I realized that this little calendar did not reach all the corners of this Lazy Susan. I was kind of sad about it. However, it's also an opportunity for me to share with you how I'm going to fix this in case this struggle happens to you. I never like to miss out on an opportunity to help you in our time of craft need, because you might need the same thing I am. Anyhow, moving on. Grab you some parchment paper and then put it down over your calendar once you have it perfectly placed, and gingerly work your iron from one side to the next. Before you go sanding off any of the excess, you're going to want to stop and take a second and just pull up around the edges, making sure that if you're pulling this back a little bit, there's no peeling away from the project that you've ironed this onto. If so, you might need to add a little bit of Mod Podge or iron it a little bit longer to ensure that it's sealed down. When everything is all attached, just grab you some sandpaper and go in downward motions from the top to the bottom, separating your piece from the project all around the excess. You'll see here that the disconnect is buttery smooth. You will not always get this result if you decide to take the sandpaper and go back and forth. Sometimes it will tear the design on top of your piece. So just a little tip in case that happens to you. Remember how I said I'm going to show you how to fix things in case whatever you're decoupaging doesn't cover the full piece of your project? Grab you a stencil. And one of my favorite type of stencils, because I get asked this all the time, are ornate stencils. Usually I'll just go to Amazon and I will type in ornate stencils or damask stencils, and they got some options. Some can be a little pricey, but for the most part, they have some really nice pieces for you to pick from, and these are usually pretty easy to wash. I didn't want the piece looking awkward with just a spot or two of this stencil, so I took a second and just put some sections on here that I felt like would make sense for the piece, and it's absolutely stunning. And in case you're wondering, Brandy, how would you seal this? I would use some Rust-Oleum, either clear matte or satin spray paint, and do some very thin layers over the top of this. For this house number sign, we're gonna need one of Dollar Tree's little crates and one of their larger pieces of wood. Now these are a little on the rough end, so you will need to sand off any extra bits. And then grab you some of Dollar Tree's wallpaper, or I mean, you can paint your piece if you want. I really like this wallpaper and I wanted to use this for this particular idea. I just trimmed it down to size and then removed the backing and gingerly attached it onto the piece of the wood, making sure to rub it in really well so we had a nice little bond. If you want, you could also spray some extra sticky stuff on the back of here for some extra adhesive. You could use whatever color paint you would like, but I chose to go with gray to paint the crate so it matched the wallpaper. I took the same paint, which blended in a little too much if I'm being honest, to paint our numbers onto our piece. You could absolutely use some stickers, or you could print out some vinyl letters or numbers, whatever would work best for you. I just wanted to show you that if you don't have any of that stuff on hand, you can absolutely freehand them on your own. To attach our crate, I'm going to take an X-Acto knife and remove a small section of this wallpaper. This is going to allow us to be able to put wood glue on top of wood and press the crate on here with the wood, so this way we get a nice bond. I did not paint the back of the crate, so there's no medium in here and there's no wallpaper preventing sticking from the crate to our wood piece. If you just put that wood glue over top of the wallpaper, then the actual crate itself is just going to stick to the wallpaper, not the piece of wood. You could absolutely drill little holes in the bottom of here and put some fresh florals in. And if you don't have a porch that is going to be able to protect the material, you could use a spray paint sealer that is outdoor friendly to make sure that this lasts. And I did hammer in a little nail to share how awesome a small lantern would look hanging from here. I don't know if I have been living under a rock and these have been at Dollar Tree for quite some time, but I feel like these were new to me at least. Have you guys seen these lidded plastic jar pieces? Because if you have, like, I'm missing out. I thought these would make a perfect cloche type piece. Just take the lid off, flip it upside down, and it actually fits on top of these candle holders pretty perfectly. However, I am a little concerned that they're going to fall off here quite easily if we're trying to reuse them. So I got an idea for that. First, take some tacky glue and glue that lid down and set that to the side to dry. Then find you some floral foam and cut a small piece of it large enough that it fits inside of the top of the candle holder with some lip, if that makes sense, like an inch. So this way, like, once it's on the top, there's some room, you know what I mean? You'll see what I'm talking about. However, this is the wrong thing to do. I mean, at the time, I thought I was being a smarty pants and I was like, oh, I'm just going to smoosh this down on top of the floral foam and it'll be the perfect size. However, when you try to get that out of there, it isn't coming back out. So do not do this. It's stuck. It's stuck. I finagled a little clay tool up in there and shaved some of the excess off, for anybody wondering how I solved that. Okay, then it was perfect and it fit on top our little candle holder. I got out the messy moss, attached the floral foam, and then started applying some more of that tacky glue onto the floral foam to put some moss all over everything. Then I grabbed a couple small florals and berries and started attaching them over top of the moss. You could obviously not attach them with tacky glue, so you can switch this out. But in case you're wondering, the purpose of us adding the little floral foam here was so that way the top of the cloche is not going to slide off when you decide to open it and switch out whatever you're keeping inside of this amazing little tabletop decor cloche piece. For this tabletop planter, we're going to need one of these wood pieces from Dollar Tree and a crate. And grab yourself a candle holder of whatever kind you would like. I grabbed this one with the thick bottom and then started to push some of my favorite paper clay into an ornate mold. You could use whatever mold you would like and whatever clay you would like. My favorite clay is paper clay, and I do keep that down in my Amazon store for anyone that's interested. A little tip if you struggle to figure out how to get your clay nice and flat on your pieces is just to take a dowel and go over it and gently smoosh off any excess. This can take a couple minutes, but it ensures that your clay is nice and flat. So once you take your wood glue and you attach it down onto your project, you won't have your extra pieces popping off in different sections of the clay. I allowed these to dry overnight, and a little tip that I also like to do before I start moving on when I have a project like this is just to kind of tug on it and kind of beat on it a little bit, making sure that everything's in place and it's not going to fall apart. Look how beautiful that turned out. This is one of my favorite molds that I have in my stash. I wanted to get a little colorful, so I grabbed lavender, and I'm pretty sure the paint was Waverly that I used, and just applied a coat to both the top part and the candle holder. When that was dry, I grabbed some of my Dixie Belle gilding wax in the silver and took a little paintbrush and just went over some of the raised sections and the details. If you don't have this, you could easily dry brush some paints, pick a color, and do the same exact thing. If you're looking for more Dollar Tree inspiration, check out this video right here. As always, people, thank you all so much for hanging out with me today, and until next time.